Good evening and welcome to one and all present in this session. This is Ankona from CLIRNet. CLIRNet is very proud to be a part of this webinar as a digital partner. Now, I would like to play a short video of CLIRNet. Thank you so much for all your patience. CLIRNet is India's largest live digital CME and doctors-generated medical content platform. Our website is www.clirnet.com, where we have lots of live sessions conducted by the eminent speaker across the globe. And we have MedWiki services also, which is medical Wikipedia for the doctors only. We will invite all the doctors to visit our website. Now, without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Teja RKA, sir. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Ankana. Thanks, CLIRNet, for being our organizing for digital partner for organizing this webinar. A very good evening to all. I'm Dr. Teja, currently pursuing junior residency in the Department of Community and Family Medicine, AIMS Rishikesh. Also, I'm currently holding the position of Joint Secretary in the IACFM Association. As we all know, pedagogy is often described as an act of teaching. The meaning of pedagogy is broader than the formal education. It might be a constructive or instructive pedagogy or even a pedagogy of approach. So we are very pleased to hold a session on pedagogy. And this session will be divided mainly into two parts. The main session is for 70 minutes by our speaker, followed by a question and answer session for 30 minutes. So we have sent two handouts to your registered mail ID. I request all the participants to keep them ready as they will be used during the main session. And coming to question and answer session, all participants are requested to post any question related to pedagogy in the chat box with their names during the main session, and the questions will be addressed by our speaker in the question and answer session. Also, participants also can interact with the speaker in the question and answer session. For this, they can raise their hands and they will be unmuted. I hope it's clear to all. And all the participants, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, respected Dr. Gautam Roy, sir, a highly accomplished public health professional and educator with a wealth of experience in his field. Dr. Roy started his journey of medical education, MBBS, in the year 1982 in JIPMER. After MBBS, sir has done diploma in public health and MD in community medicine and senior residency in JIPMER itself. Thereafter, in the same institute, sir joined as assistant professor, then became associate professor, and then finally professor in the year 2000. He held the chair of director professor from 2008 to 2012 and now holding the position of senior scale professor since 2012 in JIPMER itself. With 3 decades of experience in teaching and UGs and PGs, and also conducting extensive research with approx 54 publications on his name and advocating for healthy communities, Dr. Roy is truly a visionary in the field of public health. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Gautam Roy, sir, to sensitize all of us about what is pedagogy and how we can incorporate at the beginning of our careers to become a good teachers in future. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Tejas. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much. And thank you for those kind words. It's a little daunting because first of all, I'm not comfortable very much, though I think I am getting comfortable with what is going on here, webinars and PowerPoints and all that. But still, let's see how it goes. Yes, now let's jump in straight to the topic. Pedagogy. The first thing you learn is it's not pedagogy, it's pedagogy, like biology, geology, okay? We make the mistake of thinking that since the word is derived from pedagogue or a teacher, okay? So it must be pedagogy, okay? Please correct yourself, it is pedagogy. And many people make this mistake, okay? Pedagogy. Now, the word pedagogy is derived from pedagogue, and the word pedagogue is derived from the word peda. Peda means children, okay? Teaching children, okay? And the history behind this is, it started with the Romans when they used to conquer places. Among those, the people who were conquered, okay, they would search for people who are highly accomplished and who could teach. And that person would become a pedagogue, let's say to one of the Roman, to one of the sons especially, okay, of the Roman people, and that fellow, the pedagogue, who was generally someone captured in their by the Romans during the warfare, would teach the child not books and papers and pencil. He would teach them the way of life, by exact living life the way it should be, drawing from life experiences. Okay, so that is what is a pedagogue and pedagogy. A little bit about the history. Now, all of you, I presume, have the two hands-out which I gave you, have printed and in your hands. So I will now share the screen with you. Okay. Yep. All of you can see that?
Yes, sir. You'll
have to, since only you can talk, Dr. Tejas, you'll have to tell me. Okay.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Right. Now, this, what happens is, please understand that for a long time, doctors, after passing out, used to become teachers. Okay. And even at that time, even teachers who were training to become, KG class, kindergarten teachers, nursery teachers, even they had to go a lot of, training. Whereas we in the medical profession were joining as teachers straight away. Even I joined like that. By the way, I joined JIPMER in 1976, not 82. Okay, 82, I think 82 I cleared MBBS. But anyway, it is only much later, after 1995 or 96, the National Teachers Training Center came up in JIPMER, and then it became mandatory for everyone to undergo that training. And then subsequently, after that, a few years later, that it became mandatory for all medical colleges to have a cell, okay, education cell or whatever you call it. So now what you see in front of you is a lesson plan. Okay, the first thing is, why should we have a lesson plan? Obviously, we should have a lesson plan because we know what we are teaching. And you see this, there's something called specific learning objectives. Okay, we have to see whether the specific learning objectives are in line with the objectives of an individual department. Okay, we are talking about, in JIPMER, we call it PSM. Okay, so different departments will have to see whether their specific learning objectives are in line with their department objectives. And each department will have to in turn see whether they are towing the line of the institute objectives. Okay. So based on that, we make specific learning objectives and we make this lesson plan. That is number one. Number two, lesson plans. Actually, lesson plans should be, filed, so that at the end of every semester or whatever, you can review and see what has been taught and what has been not taught. But sadly, nobody does it. Okay, I'm being very frank, so please don't mind. Okay, I'm like that. Nobody does it. And the third is a little more, relevant to fellows like me who teach. Generally, what happens is, suppose I have a class, let's say next Monday. Okay, next week Monday, and then somehow I'm having to take leave. Okay. What I do is I request one of the other faculty, and he or she very readily agrees. But then, the next question they ask is, sir, do you have slides from your previous class? And that should not happen. Okay. What should happen is the faculty taking leave should hand over the lesson plan, which was drawn up, and give it to that faculty. He or she should sit down and then decide how to go about it, how to teach. Okay. But again, being very, very frank, it doesn't happen. For whatever reason, we say, you have some old slides from your previous class, please let me have that. I'll take a class. Okay. And you must have noticed I said how to teach. Okay. Based on this lesson plan, each of us should decide how to teach. And pedagogy is basically that. How do we teach? Okay. For example, I'm sure you all of you who know people who cannot crack a joke. Okay. Even the best of the jokes, they crack it in such a way that nobody feels like laughing, right? So is that art of cracking that joke is related to pedagogy, how you teach. Okay. I'm very sure that you can recall classes from your school. Okay. One particular teacher, he taught that way, and you remember, well, if not most of the thing, if not everything, at least you'll remember most of the thing. And if not most of the thing, at least you'll remember his or her mannerism. Okay. So lesson plan and pedagogy is basically how you teach, how you bring across the point. Okay. And please remember, the purpose of a teacher is not to vomit out everything he knows. Okay, it's becoming a little difficult. So instead of he or she, I will use the word he. Please don't mind. Take it as for both the genders, men or women. Okay. Yeah. So how you teach becomes important. Okay, because you must, as a teacher, make things easier for your students, your pupils, especially MBBS students. Okay, it is a little different for, let's say, MD or PhD scholars or so, where you can, be a little more lax how you present it, because after all, they are expected to go back and learn, or at least read and come. Okay, but MBBS students especially, okay, they go away with whatever you say as the gospel truth. So you'll have to be very careful there how you teach them. Okay. Now, so that is what is pedagogy, how you crack a joke. Okay, the joke is not important. Okay, how you crack a joke so that everybody laughs. Pedagogy is how do you plan, how do you deliver the lecture so that it becomes easy for everyone. Please remember, this saying is ascribed to Albert Einstein, who said that if you cannot explain it, whatever, to a child of 6 years old, it means you yourself have not learned it. Okay. I mean, it's ascribed to him, but the basic philosophy behind it is whatever you know, you should be able to explain, in simple terms to anyone, okay, including a child of 6 years old. But anyway, I can't imagine explaining gravitation to a child of 6 years old. Okay, but anyway, the idea is keep it as simple as possible. Now, what I've seen, I'll be speaking mainly based on my experience as MD examiners in PSM across India, and this is what we see, and this really gets the examiners irritated, which they don't like. Okay, and being in the examination, they don't mention it, but then after the session is over, everybody talks about it. Okay, so your lesson plan should have the name of the teacher. Please excuse me about that. Okay, you should mention the date and time and venue. Please remember the 3 principles of epidemiology: time, person, and place. Okay. So it is 4th semester students, mention the time, date, venue, everything. And be very, very, very clear about what is the subject and what is the topic. So it is going to be communicable disease, under communicable disease, lymphatic filariasis. Be very clear about that. Now, the name of the teacher. Okay, if it is an MD examination, please do not mention your name. That is not allowed. You must mention your roll number only, never your name. Okay. I modified this just to show you that don't do this. Don't write your name, Dr. So-and-so. Okay. Write your roll number. Examiners really don't like it. Okay. And it's not to be done also, in an examination, you're not actually supposed to reveal your name. It's only, you go only by your roll number. Right. So the name of the teacher, class, students, and subject and all that is over. And we come to the specific learning objectives. Look at this. It says at the end of the session, the student should be able to do a few things. Okay. Now, here I would like to tell you, of all the other sessions in MD examination, the pedagogy session is a real cat and mouse games. Okay. In the sense that the examiners, those four fellows there, okay, they will try to irritate you as much as possible. They'll ask all sorts of questions. But the basic thing you have to remember there is, pedagogy is how you teach. Okay, so this pedagogy session is more of how you respond to them. Okay, how you respond to them. So they'll ask you so many questions. More than what you actually answer, they'll see how you are answering it. Okay, now this is something. Look at this STEM. At the end of the session, the student should be able to. Okay. Everybody lets it go, but one smart examiner, no, because he thinks he knows better, he'll ask you, what is wrong with this STEM? At the end of the session, the student should be able to. Okay. There's nothing wrong there as such. But if you want to be a little more specific, okay, you can answer this. If you want to be a little more specific, it would be better if you say, at the end of the session, at least 50% of the student should be able to answer with 75% accuracy. You understand? You're being more, because if you say at the end of the session, every student should be able to answer, should be able to do that, won't work, because there are all kinds of students. Some may do, some may not do. Okay. At the end of this, please remember this, at the end of the session, at least 50% of the student should be able to do whatever with 75% accuracy. That is, the irritating part of it. But when you prepare a lesson plan for your pedagogy session in MD, this much will be enough. At the end of the session, the student should be able to. Okay. Please be also careful about the word should. Okay. Many times people, poor students in their hurry, they write must be able to. Must is, compulsion. Okay. That they must be able to do. Okay. Should is leaving it a little more dicey. That maybe they can do, maybe they cannot do. Okay. So that is the stem of this specific learning objectives. Now look at this one. Describe the epidemiology, describe the pathogenesis, classify something, describe. This describe, classify, describe are called action verbs. Okay. They are called action verbs. So this particular person wanted, at the end of the session, he wanted the student should be able to describe the epidemiology of filariasis, describe this thing, describe. Now here, please be a little careful, because if you write describe everywhere, then the examiners, they will only describe. Okay. Are there any other things they can do? So you frame your question, frame your specific learning object in such a ways that you have other action verbs. Okay, like list. Okay, list the pathognomic signs of filariasis. Okay, enumerate. Okay, or compare the file manifestation. Okay, so you try to use different action verbs as they are called. These words are called action verbs. Okay, sorry. The point here is examiners, when they receive this piece of paper and they see this, that these action verbs are more or less all the same, vis-a-vis another student who comes with different action verbs, immediately know that the other person has taken time to sit and think about what to do. Okay, so pedagogy, you're trying to show off. Okay, you're trying to show off that you know these things. Okay, instead of using describe as this person has done, use different action verbs. Okay. Now we come to the next thing. It is the contents. Okay. Set induction, introduction, and all that will go. Okay. Now, one favorite question with the examiners is, what is set induction? And the pet answer or the set answer is, it is you get the attention of the students to yourself and to the class. Okay. And with that, they have in the slides or whatever, they have something related to file aliases. The student had something related to file aliases. Please understand that set induction, as students correctly say, is to draw attention to yourself and to the class. It need not really necessarily be, something related to file aliases also, as in this case. Okay. I can come and say, I do it, walk into the class and say, how many of you saw, what's his name, that fellow who hit 5 sixes? Okay. How many of you saw that? Okay. Or I just walk into a class and say, did you see something on the headlines of the newspapers today? Okay. That is, in other words, getting the attention to yourself. Okay. This can be a little difficult to do. Okay. And try to see whether you can use some other method, not just the topic itself, okay, to do set induction. It's a little difficult. Okay. So introduction. Now look at the methods. Okay. The methods used are, of course, nowadays you can't help it. It's always LCD everywhere, chalk. Chalk and board hardly anyone uses. Okay. That is fine. That doesn't matter. But then there are some old-time examiners. Mercifully, they have retired. Okay. It happened with me, with one of my examiners. He just came when I started, he just came, switched off the lights in the room. And he said, there is no electricity. Take your class. In other words, you should be prepared to take the class even without LCD. Okay. So make sure you have a chalk and board and you have practiced how to take the class. Okay. Or how you take the class without your LCDs. Okay. Here also, now this person, what happened to this person, I'll tell you. Here he said he will, in explaining the epidemiological triad of filarial acid, he will use a LCD and the chalkboard also. Okay. But he did not use the chalkboard at all throughout his session. And immediately, as I told you, it's a cat and mouse game between the examiner and the student. 2 or 3 of those 4 fellows, they jumped up on him and said, you have written chalk and board here, but you have not used it at all. And, then needless, needling. I would call it needling, not really this thing. So if you're not using a chalk and board, please don't mention it there. In case you have mentioned chalk and board, please use it there. Okay. And you can do it. You can do it. You can be tricky about this. Okay. Just to show off that you know how to use a chalk and board, use the chalk and board only in the beginning, okay? Maybe in the introduction, okay? Or you say you have a chalk and board somewhere here, okay? The reason is, please understand very well, nobody goes through those 60 minutes of your time, okay? By around 7 or 10, by around 7 minutes, I have noticed the examiners become restless. By 10 minutes, they say, okay, you can stop. Okay. So instead of the entire 60 minutes, you can stop within by 10 minutes. But just because they are going to stop in 10 minutes, don't be prepared only for lecturing up to the epidemiological triad. Okay. Please be prepared to lecture on everything. Okay. Again, to repeat, by the time you come to epidemiological triad, they will say, okay, stop. you need not go any further. But please be prepared to take the entire class, okay, full 60 minutes. That is what is pedagogy, actual class, right? Now, if they tell you to stop, which they will definitely tell you to stop at the end of this, they will invariably say, summarize your lesson, okay? Summarize your class. So this summary, you must do it. You should be able to do this summary, okay? And basically now, a little bit about summary. What is a summary? If you open the books on teaching learning methods, it's described as saying what you're going to say what you said you will say to them, and finally say what you told them, okay? So it is something like, imagine movie posters, okay? Movie posters. How are the movie posters, Just one poster, no moving thing, nothing, but, the moment you see that, you know that, okay, this is a story about something on the sea, okay? This is a story about a boy and a girl on a ship, okay? I'm talking about Titanic. So you should be able to summarize. And many times they will also say, please run through your slides after epidemiological riot. When they'll ask you to run through your slides and hold it for at least 2 or 3 seconds there, and then go on to summary, okay? So pedagogy, please understand, is full 60 minutes of taking the class, okay? Because they don't have time, they will ask you to stop somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the epidemiological triad, okay? In this case, but summary, they will ask you to summarize. Please practice your summary. And summary does not mean, the entire 60 minutes of class. It'll sound like something like, mutual funds that thing goes, no? It goes very fast. Mutual funds are subject to market. Please don't read the carefully. It's not like that, okay? You should be able to tell that today we have seen something about filariasis. We have seen the epidemiological triad, the clinical manifestations, and the control measures, okay? And in that, if something important, you can mention, okay? So this is about the content, method, and media. Now, duration. This is another one of the first things we all do when we get a lesson plan from the poor student, okay? We calculate the time, okay? And how much is the time? 3 plus 7, 10, 20, 25 plus 5, 15, 40, 40 plus 5, 45, attendance 5 minutes 50, and assessment 10 minutes. Now, as I told you, please remember, the pedagogy session in MD exams is trying to show off, okay, your skills as a teacher and trying to show off that you know what needs to be done. And therefore, if you present a duration like this, immediately, the examiners jump on you and say, you mean to say your class will start exactly at 9 o'clock? Doesn't happen, isn't it? Invariably, what happens is the previous class gets over 5 minutes later, okay? And by the time you walk in, it's another 2 minutes, okay? People need to settle down. Some boys or girls have gone out to have a drink of water. So it takes time, okay? So what I mean is, don't put this exactly 60 minutes. Have some buffer time, okay? We'll see that buffer time in the next lesson plan, which is a much better planned. But this is what happened with this poor. I mean, I'm using this word poor a little too thing, but I feel bad for the candidates during MD exams, MD or MBBS exams also. Okay, so please don't get into that. Try to keep a buffer time of at least 5 minutes, okay? Because there will be a loss of time. Fellows will ask questions, try to disturb you more likely. Okay. So this is what is contents. So in this contents, we saw a little bit about what is set induction. Okay. We saw what how to deal with the duration. Okay. And we also saw that though a pedagogy session is full 30 minutes, 60 minutes, sorry, the examiners will ask you to stop somewhere here, but they will invariably ask you to summarize. Okay. And they will ask you to run through your slides so that they can have a look at that. Okay. So this is the contents and the methods. Also remember that if you're mentioning chalk and board, please show the skill upfront that you know how to do the chalk and board. I remember many classes, many sessions in class where, this candidate very cunningly, he put the chalk and management here. Okay. Because he knew invariably, sometime, most of the time it is stopped somewhere here. So when the teacher said you have may put chalk and board, but you have not used it, he said, no, sir, it is coming at the end of the session. And there he got caught. They said, okay, use your chalk and board for this session. And he cut a sorry figure. Okay. I'm telling you again, please prepare for a 60-minute lecture. Okay. And be thorough with how to use the LCD or the chalk and board. Okay. So there are a few things about contents. Okay. Now we come to assessment. Sorry, it has got. Now contents, what happens is the assessment. You'll be asked questions like what are the types of assessment? Okay. And you should be able to tell that there are two, okay, concurrent assessment and summative assessment. Okay, concurrent assessment is assessing, what is the effect of your teaching, and summative assessment is at the end, semester examination. You can also say that, the examinations at the end of every semester, whatever. So a formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment, it goes on as and when you're going. Okay. Now they will ask you what kind of assessment is this. Okay. So this candidate, he had prepared what was a formative assessment. That is, at the end of the class, the teacher will give this MCQs, which you hold in your hand, okay, and he expected to learn. Again, the question here invariably comes: you have taken a class just now, and you are giving this question paper to the students immediately. Okay, the recall will be very good. Almost all of them will answer very well. And you will go satisfied that you have taken a very good class. What do you think will happen, let's say, after 1 month or after 2 months? Okay. And as I told you, in this session, there is no right or wrong answer. Okay. You be upfront and you say that, sir, this is only a summative. I just want to know how much they have been able to grasp here. Okay. From this session. For the university examination, I expect that they will learn and recall what all has gone on in this session. Okay, so yeah, that is another thing. I think I mentioned it also. Pedagogy sessions are basically cat and mouse games. Okay, please bear in mind a basic thing that generally there is no right or wrong answer. Okay. It is more how you behave, how you respond. That is good. Now, a little bit about this. So, MCQs. Okay. One question which comes up is what are the parts of an MCQ? Okay. And the parts of an MCQ are: it has a stem. This is the stem. and it has 3 distractors. Okay, 3 distractors and 1 key. So any MCQ has a stem, 3 distractors and 1 key. It's called the key. Okay, remember that. If you are doing very well, then you can expect this question. Okay, why does an MCQ have only 4 options? Okay, 3 distractors and 1. And if you're asked this question, then you can be very sure that you're doing very well in the pedagogy session. Just to let you know that analysis has been done, that if you have, let's say, 5 or 6, and there are some places where they want 5 or 6 options. 5 options or 6 options become very, very difficult for the examiner, for the person who is sitting and framing the questions. And many times what happens is 2 of them or 3 of them are so obviously wrong. The candidate is easily able to make out that the option is one of the other 3. Okay, because the difficulty in setting 5 or 6 options. Okay, and so what they have found is the best method is to have 4 options, 3 distractors and 1 key. So that is the reason behind why we have 4 options in MCQs. Okay. Now look at the way the MCQs are presented to you. Okay. Generally, we don't expect MCQs to be framed like this. This should actually come here. Okay. This should actually come here. And even so, there should be a proper gap between the one MCQ and the next. Okay. Small points. Okay. Small points. But please remember, we are dealing with a pedagogy session where all these things make an impression. Okay. So do that. Okay. STEM, 3 distractions and 1. What I would suggest is, unlike this person who has made 1, 2, it's difficult. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4 MCQs. What I would suggest to students who are appearing for the pedagogy session, make two MCQs, which is more than sufficient to let the examiners know that yes, you are competent enough to frame questions, MCQs. Okay, 2 is enough, 5 not necessary, because there you're trying to show off. Okay, they will ask you a question, doctor, is it only 2 MCQs enough? You can then say, no, sir, actually not 2. We can have some more of for this session, but I've just made it like that. Okay, and then he got bored of these MCQs, so he made another question. I hope you can see it from your this thing. Okay. But then you see, this entire story is basically an MCQ. Okay. He has given them four options. One of them is the key and the 3 are distractions. So framing MCQ, framing a question like this and thinking that it's a full answer is not correct. Okay. Also, please understand, even if you're making this a long question, let your questions not be like this. Okay. For instance, what I mean is, look at this, Murugesan. Okay. Now, Murugesan is a very common name in Tamil, in this part of India. So that's okay. But what does it matter if it is Murugesan or Lakshmi? Okay. doesn't matter at all. Okay, so don't give these extraneous information, Murugesan or Lakshmi or Sita or whatever. Okay, be careful about giving a 40-year-old male. Okay, in this context, for file areas, it doesn't matter much at all. Okay, unless you're talking, let's say, of hypertension, you're talking of diabetes, or you're talking of pregnancy. Okay, then it is relevant to give this age. Doesn't matter. Resident of Puducherry. Okay, Pondicherry is nowadays called Puducherry. Does it really matter if the person is a resident of Puducherry or Chennai or Rishikesh or wherever? Okay, because after all, this is some question on filariasis. Okay. And then look at this. He has used this term entry lesions. No, we didn't know that, filariasis has entry lesion, and this chap, he really got ragged over these questions. Okay, so 1 or 2 MCQs, and then have short notes. Okay, 1 or 2 short notes, and then 1 long question of 6 marks or whatever. Again, remember, here you are trying to show off to the examiners that you know very well how to form MCQs, you know how to form short notes, and you know how to form long answers. You're showing off your skills. It's a show off business there. You have to show off that you know all this. Okay. I also recall now that this fellow, he got caught here also. Here he says write short notes, and then he write short notes. Actually, short notes should not be framed like that. Okay, it should be, the stem should be write short notes of whatever time in this thing, and then only control measures for filariasis. Okay, so this is the short notes. Short notes is another, in other words, the topic. It should not carry an action verb like write short notes on, write on. Okay, so short notes should not carry any action verb. This is another term you have learned today, action verb. Okay, write, describe, okay, compare, okay, list. About the first lesson plan. Okay, now we'll go to the next one. Now, compare this part of the lesson plan here to the lesson plan there. Okay, it looked really crowded. Okay, don't do that. Okay, let it be clear. I'm telling you again. Okay, pedagogy session in the examination is for you to show off your skill, that you know how it is to be done. And what is, after all, pedagogy? How you teach, not what you teach. What you teach is not so important as how you teach. Okay, so there we come. It is at the end of the sessions. Please remember that you don't have to write it. But remember, okay, at the end of the session, at least 50% of the students should be able to answer with 75% accuracy. Just keep it in your mind. Okay, you don't have to write it. Now look at the action verbs here. Okay, describe, assess, mention, list. Okay, so immediately the impression created in the examination, yes, this fellow seems to be a little aware of the use of different action verbs. Okay, action verbs. So this seems to be a little better planned. Look at the time. Okay, this fellow has allowed a buffer time. Okay, class may start late. Students may ask questions. Okay, some student may walk in late, and the teacher spends 2 minutes, scolding him for coming late or whatever. So have some buffer time, and no class starts on time. Okay. Including this session. I was noting this session started somewhere at 5:32. Okay. So 2 minutes, 2 valuable minutes gone. So have some buffer time. Okay. Also recall in the previous set induction, that person had earmarked 3 minutes. Okay. Set induction need not be so long. Okay. 1 minute is more than sufficient to my mind, but then I leave it up to you, because teaching is an art, like telling jokes is an art. Okay. So you may use a little more of the time, and I may use a little less of them now that I am experienced. But rest assured, when I was appearing for MD way back in 1988, I was also very nervous. So nervousness is necessary. It will be there. Okay. Now this is what I was saying. Okay. This guy, he knew that the session will end much earlier. Okay. In fact, I think it ended, if I recall correctly, it ended here. Okay. And he was asked to, run through the slide and summarize. There's no two things about it. He is one of the examiners. By the way, it wasn't me. He asked him, "Doctor, you have said chalk and board, but you have not used." And he said, "Sir, some session." Immediately, you take that session. And obviously, because he was very sure that everything will stop here or here, he didn't care about the others. Again, please do not do that. A pedagogy session is supposed to be 60 minutes. You better be prepared to take it for 60 minutes. Okay? And as I said earlier, nowadays everywhere there is LCD, so nobody bothers about it. And as I told you, some of those old examiners, they'll just come and keep this thing here and say, "There's no electricity, take your class." Okay, so if you're doing that, please be prepared. But nowadays nobody bothers; everybody's into LCDs. So, but be prepared also. What is, in case you're not really able to use the LCD, and please be prepared for the entire session. Okay. Now, this fellow, he did it very well. He has formed 2 MCQs. Okay. He has some short questions and some long questions, or whatever you call it. Okay. So he was able to show that he knows how to form MCQs, how to, frame them. Okay. And he was very, very, one of the examiners was very impressed, because he used this term, which one? Okay. Which one of the following? Generally, we don't see that. Okay. So it can, people say that it can cause confusion. Okay. He may mark both and then get a whole lot of, circus. Why both? Why not one, and all that? But anyway, so which one of the following? Okay. Which rotavirus is used? Now, we'll stop a little bit here. After you have finished your presentation, the examiners will start questioning you, and there'll be a whole lot of questions. Okay. One of the questions which we hear from other examiners, I'm behaving as if I'm not the examiner. Okay. I'm behaving as if I'm a audience in the pedagogy sessions, which is going on for MD exams. And generally I do that. More than the candidate, I watch what the other examiners are doing. Okay. Now, the one common question is, what will you do if a student comes late to class? And as I told you, in pedagogy, there is no right or wrong answer. It is how you how you respond. Okay, how will you respond to a person who comes late to class? I don't know about you. Please think about it. But if I was the class and the student comes in late, doesn't matter. I let him in quietly. Don't do anything. Okay. The student also, candidate also answer like that. Then the next question is, what if you see that the same student who comes late again and again? Okay. Again, there is no right or wrong way of doing it. I have a different way. Maybe you will have a very different way. Please work on it. Okay. What I would do is I would let him in, but at the end of the class, I would call him to my room. Okay. And I would ask him, what is the reason for him coming late always? Okay. The reason is, for whatever reason, the person is that student is late to class. Okay. And on top of that, if you turn him away, actually we are doing, personally, I feel we are doing a disservice, because he has paid fees, okay, for instructions, and that he should get. Another question I can think of, which comes very often, is how will you know, if you are taking a class, how will you know that the students are really paying attention? Okay. Now you think about it and you think about how will you answer it. But my answer will be, okay, that whenever I make a point, I'm taking a class, I will make a point, most of the students start, writing. Otherwise, they're looking at me, listening to me. The moment I say this is very important or something, they look. Okay. Which is, so that is how they the other thing is eye contact. Okay. Eye contact. Please maintain eye contact, not only with the examiners, but with your students also. Okay. It's very demeaning, I would say, if you don't maintain contact when you're speaking. Okay. Another question is, what are the domains of teaching and learning? Okay. So you should be able to say that there are 3 domains, and they are cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. In other words, knowledge, attitude, and practice. Okay. Knowledge and practice we do impart very effectively, but the attitudes is one which is difficult, because we pass on our attitudes without knowing. Okay. Unconsciously we pass on our attitudes to the students who copy them. Okay. So we'll have to be careful there. These are the 2 very common questions. Okay. Another thing they will ask you is, what is the difference between pedagogy and micro teaching? Okay. There's a big difference between pedagogy and micro teaching. Pedagogy is this entire 60 minutes of preparation and delivering. Okay. That is pedagogy, an actual class for which you have prepared and come and you're delivered, are ready to deliver. Micro teaching, on the other hand, is you ask your colleagues, okay, not everyone, whoever is free and is able to spare 3 to 5 minutes, okay, 3 to 5 minutes, because everybody is busy and they don't have time. And what you do is you test out a part of your teaching or your pedagogy. For instance, I may have prepared slides, okay, and I request 2 or 3 of my colleagues, whoever is free, sometimes even MBBS students also, okay, and I run the slides, all the 20 or 25 slides which I have for next week class, and get their feedback. Okay. So they give a feedback, maybe that, sir, there are too many slides for a topic like this, or too many colors. Okay. And that illustration was not proper. There's another better one. Okay. That is pedagogy. Pedagogy also can be, and I have done it. Okay. I have invited a few of my colleagues, whoever is free, that is, and I made them sit at the end of the class, the last bench, and speak without a mic. Just 1 minute, 2 minutes, that's all. Of course, the slides are there on being projected. They are sitting on the last bench and I'm speaking without a mic, and I ask them, is my voice clear? Can you hear me? Okay. Short, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Your micro teaching is over. Okay. That is micro teaching. Micro teaching is something you get feedback. Okay. You do something very short and you get feedback. I crack a lot of jokes in my class. Okay. Just to keep the people awake. Okay. But it is something relevant to what is going on the topic. And I call my colleagues, okay, and I tell them that, see, next week I have this. Sometimes they say that, no, sir, this is not proper. You can skip the joke. Okay. Another question, actually, there are many questions which come up. Okay, but I'm telling you the major ones. One question which which you can expect is, what is class management? Okay, what is class management? Now, class management is something which begins before the class, during the class, and also goes up to the end of the class. For instance, you may have prepared some slides. Okay. And you take it to whatever projector and you put it into the USB, you'll find that what you wanted come out red is coming out as blue, is coming out as brown. Happens? It happens. The reason is those pins, they get worn out, okay, loose connection or whatever. So then you may have to change your coloring, okay. You may have you may have to go there and see whether the mics are okay. We don't do that because we take it for granted, that all the mics are good, that all the mics are not good, whatever. This is especially important, let's say, if you are doing a health education session in a village, okay? That is our bread and butter, so to say. So it'll be better if you can go one day in advance, see where you want to have it, okay? And see what illustrations you can use. That is before the class. During the class, things like, students coming late, okay? One students are asking questions again and again, and there's another question with the examiners. What will you do to a student who asks questions again and again, okay? Clearly he or she is trying to disrupt it. How do you deal with it, okay? I would say if I find that it's the same student doing it again and again, I would tell him that, please, you're disturbing everyone. Write down your questions, and at the end of the class, we'll have some time and we'll discuss. Okay. So how you respond is more important than, there's no real correct or wrong answers here, because pedagogy is an art, and art can be, any which way. Okay. As long as it is fulfilling the underlying purpose. Now, here another advice I would want to give to the candidates who are coming for pedagogy session. Please choose a very simple topic. Okay, choose a very simple topic where you are very comfortable with the topic, with the contents, and which you can carry out. Okay. I have seen, students get into trouble with the, what is it called? Randomized control trial, because they feel it's very easy. No, randomized control trials is taking a class on randomized control trial is not easy at all. Okay. So choose a topic which is simple, which you can carry off with ease. Never get into trouble with complicated topics. That's number one. Number two, please let there be nothing wrong or, mistakes in your lesson. That is in the contents. Okay. Because if you make a mistake in the contents, okay, then you had it. Because then the question will go not on the lesson plan, not on the pedagogy. They'll start needling you about what you don't know, which actually they should be doing in the Viva. Okay. And then that impression carries over into the Viva that this fellow, yesterday we asked him about rabies, he didn't know at all. And that impression goes. Okay. So be thorough with whatever your topic is for the pedagogy. And please be prepared to take the entire class. Okay. So this is a little bit about for MBBS, MD students for the actual pedagogy session. Okay. There is something you should know. Okay. How do you classify the topic? I mean, how do you describe the topics which you are going to teach? And it is like this. Okay. Dr. Teja, can you see this? Dr. Teja.
Yes, sir.
Can you see this? Can everybody see this?
1 minute.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay. So here are two, actually it is three circles. The third circle is very huge. The one in the center is must know. MK stands for must know. Okay. The second circle, the outer circle, GK stands for good to know. Okay. And the third one, which is a huge one, is nice to know. Okay. You've got this thing, must know, good to know, and nice to know. Okay, right. Now this is very important when you're planning a lesson, because you will realize, you know it instinctively, even without my telling, what you talk about, let's say rabies or tuberculosis. What you talk about tuberculosis to MBBS students will be different from what you talk about tuberculosis to MD students or PhD students, which will be very different from what you talk about tuberculosis to a group of people in the village. Am I correct? Right. Because what an MBBS student should know, what an MBBS student must know is different from what a PG student or PhD student must know, which will be very different from what a people in the village must know. Okay, please remember this. And this diagram is actually like this. Yes, Tejas, can you see me?
Yes, sir, it is clearly visible.
Okay, compared to this, which is a complete circle, which are complete circles, you can see the openings in these circles, right?
Yes, sir.
What it means is, what is must know does not remain must know in all contexts. Okay, what is must know for MBBS students can be replaced by what is nice to know, good to know for PhD students or MD students. Okay, and what is nice to know for MBBS or PhD students, maybe it is must know for the people in the villages. Please bear that in mind. And I need not tell you this, but I think you know it very well. Okay, what you talk to MBBS students will be very different from what you talked about tuberculosis to MD or PhD or whatever, and different from. Okay, please. And I'm saying this because whenever I've seen enough health education session in villages. Okay, people start talking about, what scotochromosine, photochromogen, and all that. Okay, they don't need that. What do the people in the village required to must know about tuberculosis is that it is treatable. The treatment is free of cost, okay, and it is available free of cost at any government hospital. That is more important for them, okay, not photochromogens, Betty Besley, and you understand. So please remember this: must know, good to know, and nice to know. The context will differ for different people. It will differ even for us. For instance, what was must know in smallpox once upon a time has become nice to know nowadays for everyone. Okay, smallpox is no more a big nuisance. Okay, so context with time, context with this, it changes. If you aren't getting bored, I'll show you just one slide. Promise. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You can see this, right? Bloom's taxonomy. Okay.
Yes, sir. It is
This is an integral part of any pedagogy or any andragogy sessions. Okay. So it goes from lower requirement to more higher and higher, abilities. For instance, the basic one is recall. Okay, which you can even train a parrot to do. Recall. Okay. Next is understanding, applies, and evaluate. Let me see if I can, make it clear for you. Recall is you're taught and you're able to recall all the colors in the rainbow. Okay. VIBGYOR. That is all. Okay. Recall. What are the colors of the rainbow? VIBGYOR. Violet, indigo, blue, blah, blah. Let's not go into that. In that, there is also one color called black, which is not there in the rainbow, but there's also black. Okay, so that is recall. What are the colors? These are the 7 colors. There's another color also called black, which does not come there. Recall. Understanding is understanding why that black color is there. Why is the body appear black? Why the black color becomes black? And understanding is able to explain to others. Explain to others why it is black. Okay, it is black because it absorbs all the light and it does not reflect any light. So it is. There is also a white color called white, which reflects all the light. So it does not. Okay, that is understanding. Why does an object appear blue? Because it absorbs all the light and only reflects the blue light away. That is understanding and essentially being able to explain it to others. Okay. Next is apply. Apply is now that you know the colors and now you understand why colors are different, applying it to not painting your house black because it will absorb a lot of heat, light and heat. Okay. So never have your house colored black. It is application. I know black absorbs, so I will not color my house black. And that's why black colored cars are not very popular in India. Okay. The analyze is to be able to break it down. Okay, break it down into its components. Okay, I don't know how to say it with these colors, but let's say when you cook something, okay, you have to get so many things, okay, you have to do so many things, okay, get ready. So which one should you do first? Which one should you do next? Okay, so that time is less. So breaking up into components and understanding them. Evaluate is okay. We'll come back to colors. Evaluate is, since I know black is not good for my house, what color should I use? Okay, so I find that blue is best, not white, because blue not only is pleasing to the eye, the blue color for some reason is cheaper. Okay, evaluate, value judgment. Okay, In my evaluation, blue is better because it is cheaper. Okay, white is also good, but white is very expensive. Black is a no-no. It will absorb heat. Okay. Then next is create. So if blue is best, okay, because it's cheap also, but I want my house to be white in color, then what changes can I bring so that, the white color also becomes cheaper? Okay. So creating. I don't know whether I've been able to explain it, but this is how it goes. Okay. Recall, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Now you can think about this, some better examples about Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. That's all. This is the domains of learning, which has cognitive, affective, psychomotor. Okay. I think that brings us to the end of my blah blah. Yes, Dr. Teja.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for an enlightening and entertaining presentation on pedagogy and how theories of pedagogy increasingly identify the student as an agent and the teacher as a facilitator. You have explained in a great way. And we really appreciate your efforts in clarifying this hidden area in the right way. And also, let's start the next session, sir. This is question and answer session, which is for 30 minutes. And we'll be putting up the questions. First, I will put up the questions from the chat box for 20 minutes. And then in the last 10 minutes, participants can interact with you and they can ask directly the questions to the speaker and raise their hands. We will select and call upon you.
Yeah.
So here are the questions, sir. Like, how can educators measure the effectiveness of their pedagogical strategies? Like, what metrics should be used to evaluate student learning and growth in the classroom?
Okay, there are two ways of two. Actually, it's separate different questions here. One is how do you measure? I said, isn't it? Summative and formative and summative evaluation. Formative is, as you take the class or as you finish the one chapter on communicable disease, have a short thing.
Thanks, Dr. Teja. I'm Dr. Riya Roy, Executive Member of the Indian Association of Community and Family Medicine, and I'm currently doing my SRship at AIIMS Patna. So I really thank Dr. Teja for greatly moderating today's session. And he has rightly noted down all the queries from the participants till date. And this session on pedagogy, as many of you might know, it was arranged because you conveyed your need of holding this pedagogy session to us. So I hope it helped you in the eve of your final examinations, graduation, whoever are giving exams this April and May. I hope it helped you. And I thank you for attending the webinar, and I wholly congratulate all of you for successfully completing today's online class.
And today it's our fourth successful webinar, and we have a registration of around 200 participants. I would like to thank Dr. Gautam Roy, sir, and it was a very good session by sir. And hope it will help all the PGs who are appearing for their final exam. And I would like to say that we will be soon organizing a quiz online, and it will have exciting prizes. And as the aim of our organization is to improve the interaction and improve the medical education of both community medicine practitioners as well as family medicine practitioners. So we will work towards this aim by any means. And thank you everyone for this for participating in it, and hope these webinars are being of any help. And we would like some suggestions from your end that what webinars can be held for all the PGs, for all the faculty members, so that we can help with whatever resources we have. And I would like to congratulate the core committee, CLIRNet, for collaborating with us and helping us in delivering successful webinars. So thank you, everyone. And I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Ria to hand over the session to CLIRNet team.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rubina. So I just want to mention one thing. Till now, whatever questions you have submitted, we have noted it down, and we will send it to sir. if any further queries are there, you all of you have received a mail from us today from the IACFM mail address. So, Dr. Teja, if there is anything else left, then we can hand over the session to CLIRNet.
I think we addressed all, ma'am. I think we can hand over the session to CLIRNet.
Okay. So I guess I just one last thing, Dr. Teja, I guess you have noted down all the questions, right?
Yes, ma'am. I have
Till
noted
now.
all the questions, and all the questions will be shared to all the participants through their registered mail IDs.
Okay.
With
So,
the answer.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Teja. So we are handing the session to Ankana.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank all the doctors and the respected speaker, Dr. Gautam sir, for sharing valuable insights. We are more than grateful enough to everyone present here. We hope to have you again at our platform very soon for the next session, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
we are very much excited to collaborate again with CLIRNet. So
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure. So with all your permission, we are signing off the session over here. Thank you so much. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah, you.